Hey guys, today in this video we'll be talking about what actually is a VLOOKUP formula, what can be the structure of the VLOOKUP formula, some examples, some variations, and what can be its limitations. So to begin with, what actually is a VLOOKUP formula in Excel? So assuming that you are familiar with the basics of the Excel, so a VLOOKUP or a vertical lookup formula is a formula that can be used to pick up a particular value from a table. For example, let's say you have a table that has two columns, column 1 and column 2. Column 1 has, for example, some names A, B, C, C and D, and column 2 has values 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now, for example, in this cell number G15, you want to look what is the value in front of column 1 which has value A. For example, here you write A. Now you want in this cell the value in front of A to appear. For that purpose, you will look up all the values in this column and then correspondingly look up the value in column H. And this is exactly what a VLOOKUP formula is. So here you are vertically looking up in column 1 and then going to column H or the column 2 to look up its corresponding value. So I will get in detail into the VLOOKUP formula. How it will work is I'll just look at the VLOOKUP value that I want to look. I will select the table, I'll write the column index and do an exact match. And here you go. If I change the value to B, it will be B. If I change it to C, it will be C. Moving ahead. So this was a basic understanding of what the VLOOKUP formula is. Now moving on to the structure of the VLOOKUP formula. So basically, how you simply write an Excel formula beginning with an equal to. So for example, if you want a value in this cell, what you will do is you go here, write equal to, start with a V lookup. You will see that drop down comes below where you can select VLOOKUP. Now you see what is the expected syntax of this formula. I'll explain this. So the lookup value here is this value that you want to look up into this table. So you select this cell as the lookup value. Now the second parameter that it expects is the table array. The table array would be the table into which you want to look up the formula. So here in our case, this is the table array. But note that a VLOOKUP, for example, if you're going to look up this value in this table, the lookup value should always be there in the first column. So here the table should start from column 1 and go up to column 2. You cannot just select the table. For example, we had some values like AX, AB, AD and A. Like these are the values, and if you're going to write a VLOOKUP formula here, something like this, and then select the table, there is no way the VLOOKUP is going to work. So the lookup value in the table that we are going to select should be the first column. So here I select the first column. Now, for example, column index number is the value, that is the column number we want to display. So in this case, this is our first column, this is our second column. So here you go, this is value 2. And then if you want to do a true or an exact match, so in most of the cases we do an exact match. Later in the video I'll tell you what is the difference. So as of now we'll do a 0, and here you go. So the value 3 appears, which is in front of C. It is case insensitive, as you can see. If I change the value here D, it will just display a value D. If I change A, it will display a value A. So this is the exact working of the structure of the VLOOKUP formula. Now moving forward, I'll show you some examples of the implementation of the VLOOKUP formula. So here's just simple example that I've created. So these are some name of the persons and these are the fruits they prefer. So I'll Apple, Sean like kiwis, Jessica likes mangoes, Rebecca likes grapes, Casey likes kiwis again. So now I want to see here, what does Jessica like? So I'll type, this is the value Jessica that I want to look up in this table and want to know which fruit she likes. So what I'll do is I'll write Vlookups, it appears here. The lookup value for me is Jessica. Now a separator between the parameters is simple comma. Now I'll go to the table. The first column should be the value that I'm looking up. So this, I start from this column, column F, and then select the entire table. I can also go it further ahead, but doesn't matter. I'll select the entire table, 3 columns. The value that I'm looking for are fruits, which is at index number 2. The first is the name, the second is the fruit. So I'll select 2, and I want to do an exact match. Close the brackets, enter. So here you go. If now I change the value to Sean here, kiwi would appear. So this was the most basic example. Now a little further. So if you saw that this is just a variation of the previous example. So as of now, Alex, here's the VLOOKUP formula. For Alex like kiwis. If I do John, it will change. But now I also want to look up the sport that Alex plays. So what I'll do is I'll do a VLOOKUP. I'll select the entire table. Remember thumb rule for I'll select the name. Thumb rule that the lookup value should be in the first column. I'll select the entire table. Then the index for the column we are looking for is 3. 1, 2, 1, 2 and 3. So this should be 3, and I need to do an exact match. So this is 0. Or if you don't want to write 0 for an exact match, you can write false and do an enter. So you see John plays rugby, and if I do it to Alex, all the values would change. Also, I'll show you how this formula was done. Just a quick recap. So I selected the lookup value. I selected the entire table. It doesn't matter how long I can select. I can even select it till here. But the column I'm looking for is at index number 2. It is going to be an exact match or a false. Or you can false stands for 0. So I'll write the 0. And here you go. So this is another variation of the VLOOKUP formula, a little extension. The concept remains the same. Now moving on to further. Now what we were doing is, up till now, that I select a key value and the corresponding value is displayed using the VLOOKUP formula. What if there are two similar values, or we want to look up at a combination of two values? For example, I want to look up on the combination of the roll number and the name. So what I'll do is I'll create a key and we'll look up the same key in our index table. So here I'll create a key using the roll number and the name. So I'm assuming that you guys are familiar with the concatenation concept. If not, there's another video in my channel which you can look into. So to concatenate two cells, I'll select this cell in 13, use an ampersand symbol, and then use O13, and there's a key created on the combination of the roll number and the name Alex. This is the key that I'm going to look up into this table. But to look up this key should also be present into our table. So I'll also create the same key using the same formula in this table as well, the roll number and the name. I'll copy this formula below. So now I can look up into this table using the roll number and the name. Now, for example, if I want to look up the fruit, just a second, sorry for this. If I want to look up the fruit into this table, what I'll do is I'll use the VLOOKUP using this key value. So my formula would be VLOOKUP as always. My key value would be this. My table should always, as a thumb rule that has been stated earlier, should start from this, and I want to look up the fruit. I'll select the entire table. You see the fourth column, the fruit column is fourth from the starting, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So my index would be 4 and I want to do an exact match. Now I see that roll number 2 Alex has banana. For example, now you see that there are two values for Alex, but the roll numbers are different. So if I change the roll number, it will be kiwi, the fruit. So this is a VLOOKUP variation that you can use when you have a combination of two values. Now coming up to a very important concept. So I'll go back to this example. So you saw here that we provide a value or an index value that signifies at what column number is my value. So for example, now if I insert a column here between column G and H, as of now the sports column is third from beginning, 1, 2 and 3. But if I insert a new column, let's say insert, you see this value becomes 0, because what is happening is, if I look into my VLOOKUP formula, so it says VLOOKUP, look up the value M11 in the range F11 to I15. So this was the range F11 to I15, but now this value still remains the same. Excel does not automatically make it 4. It is still 3, and since we have inserted a new column at the third position from the start, the value that is being shown is 0 or null. So this is a major limitation of VLOOKUP formula in Excel. So if you are going to insert a new column bit in your table that you are applying a VLOOKUP formula to, the value might get distorted. So this is a very important concept that you should always keep in mind, that if you insert a new column, the VLOOKUP formula might be distorted. The VLOOKUP formula here is not distorted because the index of the column is 2. So the fruit column is at second number, the new column inserted is after the second column. So this remains intact, however the sport value is distorted. Okay, now as mentioned earlier, moving on to the approximate match. What is approximate match in the VLOOKUP formula? So let's say I have some sales values here. This is 23, this is 90, this is 120, this is 200, and the commission rates are like 0 to 20. Let's say these are ranges. 0 to 23 is 1, 23 to 90 is 2, 90 to 120 is 3, and 120 to 200 is 4. Now if I want to look up the commission rate for a particular sales, and this is commission, so if I enter a value, let's say 50, so how can a VLOOKUP formula here be helpful using an approximate match? So I'll say a VLOOKUP, the value to be looked up is this, the range for this is this, the starting column should be the first one as always, the commission rate has to be picked up from the second column, and now what I'll do is I'll use an approximate match. It can be written as true or 1, and I do an enter. So you see the 50 value is here next to 23, so it is closer to it is in the range of 23. If I do it 91, it will be 2. If I do it 125, it will be 3, and if any value greater than 200, like for example 250, it will be 4. So this is where the approximate formula comes in handy when you want to look up approximate values within ranges. So guys, this is it what I have for today, and I'll keep sharing more videos in Excel. Ciao.